let's see. Let's take a look at once we have the data, being able to pass it around back to the server once we make an update, right? For instance, first of all, we will need to grab a hold of this button, right, and declare an event handler on that. So, for instance, we'll declare the var the update button, and grab it here. So it'll be update button equal $, hash sign update button. And presumably that update button that's what its name is, right? So here's the button, and we're going to give it the ID update button. If you break up these fields into separate lines, it makes it easier to read as opposed to having really long lines, right? If you break these up, it makes it easier. These are just as if they were command lines, right? Commands for each one of them. All right, so we have that button. We're going to click declare an event handler. So update user, right? And the update user we'll implement it right here. It'll be a function update user, and here we're going to grab and build a brand new user with the new values. So we'll say var user equal to username. Well, we can't change the username, right? So let's just play around with just a few things. So we'll say first name. It will be what? It'll be $ first name dot get value, right? Also the last name. It'll be $ last name dot value, right? And we're going to delegate this to the service. Right? We're going to say, hey service, user service dot update user, and we'll pass in the user object we just created. And then we're going to, what are we going to do? We're going to maybe give an alert saying everything's okay, success, right? Success, and it'll be function success. Alert success. All right, so let's do that. So we don't have this update user on the service, right? So let's implement it. So if we go back to the service, we can implement the update user. There it is, declared, ready for us to go. And we'll say function update user takes a user object, and it's a little bit of mix on all these, right? It's going to be the user. The URL, the ID of the user that you want to update, plus I need to pass you a JSON representation of the new values of the user, right? So we need to pass you here some configuration. We need to say this is JSON. We need to stringify it, right? We need to pass you in the body the new user. So there it is. So we're going to pass it along. There it is. It's not a post. It's going to be a put. Okay. So again, we're following RESTful standards or naming conventions, and that we're going to use post to create, get for read, delete for removal, put for updates. Right? That's a very common use of different methods for different things in the RESTful APIs. Right? Notice that it's exactly the same URL, right? Meaning I am manipulating either a collection of users or a particular user. Yes? So here in update, I am manipulating just one user. Typically, this response typically is not gonna. Actually, we can return the new user, right? We can return the new user once it has been updated, right? And so it will parse the new user and return it back to the client, right? To the controller. All right. So if we try to do this, if we refresh. And we make any changes, and we do an update. Notice that it's this update. Oh, okay. Notice that it's doing its default behavior. A button inside of a form. The default behavior is to actually submit the form, right? We don't want that, right? We want to handle the submissions. We don't want to have the browser handle the submissions, right? We want to handle it. We want to JavaScript create the object, send it over. We want to programmatically do the submission, not have the default behavior of the browsers to do the submission. So to do that, we're going to go to the HTML, and notice that it's in a form. We're going to change the type of this button to be type equal button as opposed to submit. A button, by default, its behavior is a submit button. Okay, we're going to change its behavior to just be a plain old button. All right, don't interpret this as a submit. All right, so let's do that again. Notice that there's a reference, something or other. What? Oh, user ID. We never passed in the user ID of the user that we wanted to change. Let's see. User controller. We need the ID. Presumably, we know the ID of the user, so it'll be 12. We know that's Bob Hope. So we're going to pass it as an argument, and we need to receive it in the user service. So this will be user ID. Okay. Let's try this again. Let's do that. So we'll try something, and we'll do an update. Notice that it complains. It's not really successful. The console says, yes, I sent it over, but there was nobody else listening on the server side, right? So we need, on the server side, we need to listen for the incoming put request. So the network here, right, we did send it over. Notice that the get worked, but the put didn't, okay? So let's go back to the server side, right? And we're going to receive a put mapping. That's going to look very similar to this. Let's import the put. Oh, not $. Let's import that put mapping, and it's going to be a public user update user, and it's going to pass. We're going to pass in. We need to parse out the variable here. So we path variable the named user ID. And we are going to map that into an integer variable called user ID. And also, we're going to parse out the body, request body, and we're going to map it into an user object, user. This is the new user, new user, new user. Okay? All right. So for now, just to test it out, we can maybe just echo the user. No, let's actually do it. Let's actually do the manipulation. First, what we'll need to do is find if that user actually exists in the database, right? So let's retrieve the actual object from the database, right? So we can say we did that already. Where? We did that somewhere here. There it is. Find user by ID. Okay, and once we have the user. Right, so let's we can do exactly the same thing we did here. What we want to do is once we have the user, so the user is data dot get. Okay, what we want to do is do the manipulation of the variables. So we know that. We might change the first name, the last name. We might want to check to see if they're null, right? If it's not null, then make the change, because you might be changing only your first name, only your last name, right? So you might want to check are they not null? Are they null? So I'm just gonna for example's sake, we're gonna just change the first name only. Okay, we're gonna say user dot set first name to new user dot get first name. All right, so we've set the local user objects here, and what we're going to do is that we're going to, now that we have the user, having changed the first name, right? Obviously, you would wrap this into some validation around this, right? We can just now be ready to just put it back in the database, right? After having modified it, so we can use the repository. We can save back the user into the database, right? And return the user having been modified. And if we didn't find it, we're just going to return null. Okay? Right. So this retrieves it from the database. We do a manipulation, and then we put it back in the database. Okay? Yes.
what should we do in that case instead of returning a null? Because null anyway will, like our application will break, right? If I return a null.
Right now, on the client, you would have to handle that, right? In the client, you would say if it's null, then something went wrong, right? And then you would either provide, say, some alert saying something went wrong with your update, right? We're doing I'm doing the happy path for you, okay? You're gonna do some validation around this.
Can we do one error, some kind of error flow, something like error flow like that?
Okay, sure. Let's see what comes back from the client, right? Okay. So let's restart the server. Okay, we can provide an ID that doesn't exist. Okay, we can do that. Yeah. So let's see.
Let's say if I'm logged
Yep.
and password is wrong,
Right.
what should
Yeah.
the writer flow for that?
Okay. So it came back here, and let's try it now. Let's refresh here. We have Bob Hope, and we'll Bobby. So we'll do an update, and came back is the object having been modified, right? There's Bobby and the value. If we refresh, notice that indeed we went back to the database, and indeed it did change, right? I refreshed the page, it went out to fetch it, and user number 12 is indeed Bobby. All right. So let's do some handling. Notice what if we instead somehow the ID was wrong, right? So say we update the wrong one here, and we update 13. Okay. So let's do that. Let's refresh, and let's change this, and this comes back as let's put a breakpoint here in console. Notice that it says uncaught syntax error, unexpected JSON input, right? So we can go to the service here, right? And we can do a try catch here around this. In the client, where are you? In the user client, fine, update user. Okay, so here we could do we could put a breakpoint here to see what is actually being returned by the server. I put a breakpoint right here, and let's do an update. In the response, notice that it says body use. There's nothing in the body, right, to be parsed, as opposed to if there was actually something in the body, right, that would say true, right. So what we could do is use that as a flag to know what to do with that, right. We could check here if response dot what was it, body use. We return this. Oops. Else return null. Okay. Put a breakpoint on either one of these. Okay, so we're going to return null to the controller. If we go back to the controller, which is components, profile, controller, in the controller, in the updates, we're kind of expecting this success. So let's put a breakpoint there. Let's do a continue. All right, so we're here in the success. We can whatever we return from here, that's what we're going to be passed in through here, right? So this is the response that comes back. All right, so let's take a look at that. Let's put a breakpoint there, so we can look at the response here, what comes back. So we already know that this is going to return null, and the response is null, right? So depending on this being null, we can say things such as, if a response is null, then alert unable to update, and else do an alert. say unable to update, right? As opposed to if we change this to 12, and we change this, say update, still unable. Wait, what? Do we refresh? Response. Ooh, why is it null? The service. Where's the service? Service. Update. Response. Oh, body use is still false. Why is that body use false? Are we not returning anything? Response JSON. Let's see what the response JSON comes back with. Escape. How do you escape here? Where's the console? Console. Oh, there's the console. We can say response. There it is. And response dot JSON. Oh, it's a promise. Okay. That's pending. Body use. Oh, now it went in there. Oh, it's true now. Wait, what? Did I just see it was false? I could have sworn. Okay, all right. That should work. And oh, but there's no JSON. Wait, no, there is a JSON. We had it. Interesting. Homework. All right. Figure this out. All right. I did want to spend some time on an HTTP session before I let you go.